And we are kicking off for our YouTube channel. Let me know when we gotta go. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Welcome everybody to our annual Astronaut Memorial Service of the city of Titusville, Florida, and the American Space Museum. My name is Mark Marquette. I am the director of the American Space Museum, just 3 blocks from here in that direction. Joining me is Al Terrio, chairman of the Titusville Flag and Memorial Committee, and he is very active in the community with the Knights of Columbus and Civil Air Patrol. And Al is largely responsible for the architect of how we're doing things today. Give Al a big hand.
And Mark, did you give me a promotion? Last I heard, you were chairman, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. Yes, yes, I have.
See, we don't vote. It's like by appointment, right?
Thank you, the mayor's here, so we never do anything to violate the Sunshine Law. Of course not. Okay, in there. But no, Al's become a good friend. It's been an honor to do this for the last 4 or 5 years, and to wrap your head around what we're doing today. You know, 17 humans that we're honoring here that aren't with us, but their families are for the last decades that they've been gone, and we all miss loved ones, and that's what we're all about, to never forget, and so that the families know, and the thousands of other people affected by their passing will always remember. We're doing this on YouTube. Thank you, Mike Ronaldo of DJ Supply there. He works for the city. We have astronaut Jan Davis doing the honors of a short little speech there. Jan, where are you at? No, there you are right in front of me there. She's beside Mike Leinbach. Did you launch her a couple times? Yeah. Mike launched 31 shuttles is what I count. 37, 37. Bob Seek's done 51. That's why I say 88. When we talk about Columbia, really, this is all you really need to read about it. This is Mike's beautiful book of bringing Columbia home, the astronauts, and the orbiter that was the 8th member over here. Here's Mr. Bob Seek over here. You'll see him giving a flower. Bob launched those other 57 or 51 shuttles there. And both are awesome supporters of the museum. And the guard has passed here between these two gentlemen. Our museum was built by the Apollo era. And the torch is passing from the Apollo era, because they're aging out, to the shuttle era. It's from here to here. And Mike is really embracing our museum and wants to be part of the future. Jan Davis, Dr. Davis has written these 2 books. Her father was in the Air Force, and there's some really moving stories in here of your father in there. And so, and Jan, we'll talk a little more about her. So, at this time, I turn it over to Al Terrio.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, afternoon, welcome. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful Florida sunshine we've got. Interesting note that I heard today, there's like across the country, 110 degrees difference between us and some of our folks to the north, so we are really blessed. At this time, I'd like to bring up Pastor Danny Burnham from the First Baptist Church of Titusville to do our opening prayer.
Me. Heavenly Father, we gather here before you today to take a moment to praise and thank you for your countless blessings. We also stop to remember those brave men and women who gave their lives to further our efforts to explore your magnificent creation. Jesus said, "No one has a greater love than this, to lay down his life for his friends." We thank you for their selfless sacrifice and their willingness to risk their lives for the advancement of mankind. May we always remember their bravery and the example they have set before us. As we gather, grant us the strength to face these days with the same selflessness they exemplified. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility consider others as more important than yourselves. Everyone should look not to his own interest, but rather to the interest of others." Give us the faith and courage to carry forward these values and to help us live lives that honor you and their memory. May this service be a time of honor and remembrance, a space where grief and gratitude can coexist, and a reminder that the bonds of love are never broken. We place our trust in you and the promise of eternal life in Christ Jesus, and hope that we will one day be reunited in your presence. And we ask all this in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
If you are able, please stand as the color guard from the group of cadets with the Titusville Composite Squadron of the Civil Air Patrol present the colors. Present. Present arms.
Present arms.
Please remain standing as Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Felipe Mapinto sings our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, we are very honored to have our own Titusville Betsy Ross. Miss Carol Pedersen with the Titusville Pilots Club will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carol. Post the colors.
Order. Arms. Post.
Thank you, Mark. Back to you. Please be seated.
To those of you joining us around the world, we welcome you, and we do have people in Australia watching, up in Michigan, the Northwest, Colorado, that regularly watch our Stay Curious video broadcast done every day. And Marty Winkle, who's here, and I've done over 1,400 episodes of this fun look at space history. You're literally standing 10 miles away from the launch pads at Kennedy Space Center, the most well-known place in the world for rockets launching satellites and Earthlings. And you're literally sitting in the birth of America's space age in Brevard County. And that's what our museum represents, and the city of Titusville is proud to also represent. Today's beautiful setting at Sandpoint Park is just the Indian River there, just a couple blocks away from Spaceview Park. To my right, or to the south here, where many of you, space workers and your friends' names adorn pylons there, honoring the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo and Shuttle era. There's a life-size statue of President Kennedy, if you've not seen that, and more than 30 handprints surround that beloved leader, one of the reasons why we went to the moon. The whole area here at Spaceview Park has revolutionized our world, and we owe a great debt of gratitude to how we're living today to America's space program. I'm standing in front of a special American flagpole in a circular landscaped enclosure. At the edge of the brick floor are bronze plaques with the names of each of the 17 astronauts we honor today. For nearly 2 decades, Titusville has been doing that, and we feel it's one of the most special ways to honor our fallen astronaut heroes. Al?
As each Apollo 1, Challenger, and Columbia astronaut is honored, and photograph and brief bio, a flower will be placed with reverence on the appropriate plaque. We would like to thank the Titusville Garden Club today for the donation of those flowers. Only through their efforts do we get to have these gorgeous flowers. I would now like to call up the Honorable Mayor of Titusville, Mr. Andrew Connors, for welcoming.
I'm not as tall as Mark, so 1 second. Good afternoon, everybody. One thing I think we might have missed in our opening ceremony that I want to address is if you've served our nation in our armed services, would you please stand? Please give them a round of applause. Thank you for your service to our country. We would not have the freedoms we have today without you, especially as we go into 2026, which is just such a special year. 250 years of our nation. A little experiment that started 250 years ago that still goes on today if we can keep it. So again, thank you for your service. I think about that oftentimes because I did not serve. And you have done so much that I could never actually live up to that because you have done, again, incredible things volunteering. But today we gather in remembrance of the men and women who gave their lives in service to space exploration, the astronauts who flew the missions, the support personnel whose work made those missions possible. Spaceflight is often remembered for the moment of the launch, the power, the precision, the awe. But those moments are only possible because of the thousands of people working together towards a shared mission. Exploration is never the achievement of one person alone. It is the result of teamwork, discipline, and an acceptance of risk. Here in Titusville, we understand that truth deeply. We live alongside the space program. We celebrate its triumphs and we feel its losses. We know that the risks of exploration are carried out not only by those who travel beyond our atmosphere, but by those who design, test, prepare, and protect every mission here on the ground. Today, we honor all those who accepted that risk. We honor the astronauts whose courage carried humanity farther than ever before. And we honor the engineers, technicians, safety personnel, military members, contractors, civilian personnel who dedicated and sacrificed and made those missions possible. Each of them believed in something greater than themselves. They believed that advancing human knowledge mattered. that pushing boundaries mattered, and that serving the mission, even at great personal risk, was worth it. Their sacrifice reminds us that progress is not free, it is earned through commitment, excellence, and sometimes through loss. Hold on, the wind's giving me trouble. Bear with me. The names we remember today represent not only an achievement, but character, service above self, responsibility to one another, and faith in the future. To the families here with us today, your loved ones, we mourn their roles, not just their roles, but them as parents, spouses, children, friends, neighbors. While history remembers their service, we honor their lives, and we carry their legacy forward with gratitude and humility. This memorial stands as a promise that we will remember everyone who served and sacrificed, that future generations will understand exploration is a shared endeavor, and their contributions, whether in the cockpit or in the ground, will never be forgotten. As we look skyward today, let us remember that the path to the stars was built by many hands and many hearts. May we honor them not only in memory, but how we live, by serving others, pursuing excellence, and standing together to face a challenge. God bless those who we remember today. God bless their families, and may God continue to bless all those who serve our country and our city. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We were wondering if there are any more dignitaries here. No county commissioners? Come on. Okay. Well, it's my honor to introduce our speaker, astronaut Dr. Jan Davis. And I have gotten to see her the past couple years at some social gatherings, and always has a smile on her face. She's a delightful lady to talk about anything, but she spent 28 days in space on 3 space shuttle missions, operating the robotic arm. Was it an insulin experiment on your second one that you're really proud of? She really pioneered an instrument on her second mission, STS-60, that wasn't at 60, and you did. I've heard her talk her story many times. She was born at Patrick Air Force Base, so how much more can you be local than that? And then lived a lot of her life in Huntsville, Alabama. When she retired from NASA as an astronaut, I think very importantly, she became the director of flight project for the International Space Station at Marshall Space Flight Center, where she was also helped lead the safe return to flight of Space Shuttle after the Columbia disaster. Without further ado, let me introduce to you Dr. Jan Davis.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you all for being here today to remember our fallen colleagues, friends, and heroes. Thank you also for giving me the opportunity and the honor of speaking about them. I want to thank the organizers of this event who are commemorating my friends in a very special way. Today we gather to remember and honor the astronauts who lost their lives in Apollo 1, as well as the Space Shuttle, Challenger, and Columbia accidents. We come together not only to mourn their passing, but to celebrate their lives, their courage, and their enduring legacy. These men and women were more than astronauts. They were explorers in the truest sense. Scientists, teachers, engineers, military members, dreamers, united by a shared belief that humanity is meant to reach beyond what is known. They accepted extraordinary risk in service of extraordinary discovery, fully aware that the pursuit of space has never been easy and has always been dangerous. When Apollo 1 was lost in 1967, Challenger in 1986, and Columbia in 2003, the world felt the shock almost instantly. Missions that began with hope and pride ended in heartbreak. Families lost loved ones, colleagues lost teammates. We all lost truly remarkable people. A nation, and indeed the world, was reminded that progress often comes at a profound cost. I was born with my destiny framed by my father, who was a World War II B-17 pilot and prisoner of war, and who tested the Matador missile in the shadow of the Cape Canaveral lighthouse. That's why I was born at Patrick Air Force Base, just down the road from where I launched in the space shuttle about 40 years later. My interest in our space program continued when I lived in Huntsville, Alabama, where Von Braun and his team tested the Saturn V engines that would take us to the moon. I remember that vividly as the whole city shook and windows vibrated. We were all excited that we were going to the moon. I also remember the grieving of our nation as we lost the Apollo 1 crew in a tragic ground test. As we recovered and started flying Apollo again, my parents took my brother and me to the Apollo 11 launch. They knew it would be historic, and seeing that launch in person was something I will never forget. 10 years later, I was working as an engineer for NASA at the Marshall Space Flight Center. About that time, women were chosen to be astronauts, and I decided that I would pursue that dream myself. I had already interviewed at the Johnson Space Center to be an astronaut when the Challenger accident happened in 1986. My mom called me that day and asked if I still wanted to be an astronaut and if I was okay. I was not okay, as we were all in shock, but I told her that I absolutely still wanted to be an astronaut. I, like others who wanted to be astronauts, knew the risks and knew that taking those risks was necessary to further our country's exploration and scientific discovery. I became part of the shuttle redesign team, and the Challenger tragedy and the crew made all of us work even harder to find a solution to the problems that were uncovered. I knew then that the people who supported NASA and worked on the space shuttle program made the vehicle and the operations as safe as they could. I was selected to be an astronaut on my third try in 1987, and our class was the first class selected after the Challenger accident. We were undeterred by the accident, and we were determined to get our nation's human spaceflight program back on track. While I was an astronaut in Houston, I came to know all of the astronauts who would fly on Columbia on flight STS-107. I had flown T-38s with Rick Husband to his hometown of Amarillo, Texas, and he gave me a personal tour by air of the Palo Duro Canyon. Whenever we flew there, we would meet his mother, and we would have lunch together. What a great family man he was. Kalpana Chawla, who we called KC, was one of my best friends in the office. I think she regarded me as one of her mentors for her first space flight, as well as her upcoming flight on STS-107. Columbia was heavier than the other space shuttles and could not go to the International Space Station. Therefore, it was designated for a purely scientific mission. KC loved that. Over lunch one day, I'll never forget her saying, "Jan, this is the perfect mission for me." Mike Anderson was a payload commander for STS-107, and I was a payload commander for my last mission. The payload commander is a senior mission specialist responsible for managing the science experiments and other major payload elements. Mike stopped me in the hallway one day and said, "Jan, I want to pick your brain about how to be a good payload commander. I want to be the best payload commander that I can be." So we had many discussions about that. You see, that crew, as well as the Apollo 1 and Challenger crews, wanted to be the best that they could possibly be. One way to honor them is to be the best that we can be in everything that we do. Even in tragedy, these astronauts gave us something enduring. They taught us that exploration is not the disregard of danger, but the determination to move forward despite it. They showed us that knowledge is worth pursuing, even when the path is uncertain. Their lives reaffirmed that humanity's greatest achievements are born from curiosity, discipline, teamwork, and an unwavering belief in a better future. We honor them not only by remembering how they died, but by remembering how they lived with integrity, passion, and a commitment greater than themselves. Their sacrifice led to hard lessons, deeper humility, and safer exploration. Because of them, spaceflight changed. Because of them, future astronauts are better protected. Because of them, we continue to reach further. We now have the Artemis II vehicle on the launch pad, ready to take 4 astronauts to the moon. They will pave the way for the next crew to walk on the lunar surface. These missions to the moon will make us better as a nation and as a world. I know that the astronauts we lost would be ecstatic about our plans to go further than any other humans have been before. We must always remember that spaceflight is not easy, and it is constantly challenging us. The lessons we hopefully learn from the Apollo 1, Challenger, and Columbia tragedies must be applied to the Artemis program and other human spaceflight programs. And we must remain vigilant to keep space exploration as safe as possible. We can't give up, otherwise their lives would be lost in vain. As we look to the skies today, we do so with gratitude. Gratitude for their bravery, gratitude for their service, gratitude for the doors they opened, and the inspiration they continue to provide to generations who dare to dream beyond Earth. May we carry their legacy forward, not just in rockets and missions, but in our own willingness to pursue knowledge, to learn from failure, to do our best, and to face the unknown with courage. We remember them, we honor them, and we will never forget them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Jan Davis, for that heartfelt, powerful message coming here. We've got Al.
Yes, sir. Turn to my page. At this time, we'd like to place our memorial wreath. Mr. Mayor, if you'd come back up. Dr. Davis, if you two would help place our wreath, please.
Set. Arms. Order. Arms.
Those of you who are selected to present flowers, we're going to call you up in groups up there, the Apollo 1 group of 3. You may go over there at the flower station over there. And while you're doing that, we have a special message from a special friend, Mr. Terry White. I joke about Terry being the garage manager of the shuttle because the garages are called the Orbital Processing Facility. And he's become a great friend through his support of the museum there. And Terry's got a very special message that he's been commanded to tell everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. Those of us that worked in the space programs really appreciate you being here. Okay? I'm glad I was able to attend this memorial event for our astronauts who lost their lives while performing their jobs, and to the families of those brave souls who they themselves sacrificed so much after losing their loved ones. For those of you who do not know me, I worked in the Space Shuttle program for 34 years, and I worked the original build of Challenger and Columbia in California, and I worked the processing of all 135 launches from here at Kennedy Space Center. Okay, at the end of the shuttle program, I volunteered at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center to answer questions for guests from all around the world about the orbiters and the space program and explaining their missions and their construction. Several years ago, astronaut Steve Smith was the astronaut of the day, and he was giving a speech about his 4 missions in space at a luncheon out at the Visitor Center. In the middle of the presentation, he stopped speaking and he just looked at the audience. They were looking at each other trying to figure out what happened. Why did this guy in the middle of his speech just stop? When he spoke again, he said, even astronauts have heroes. And he said, one of my heroes is sitting right here in front of me. He said, Terry White is one of the many people that worked so hard in our shuttle space program to make sure the vehicle was ready to take us safely to orbit so we could accomplish our job as to bring us safely back home. So they gave me a nice applause for that. And after the end of his presentation, I went up to him and I said, thanks, that was really nice. And he said, oh, I forgot to tell you, you now have a mission. I said, and what's that? He said, you have to inform everyone else that you meet again that worked in the shuttle program that the astronauts consider them heroes. So since that day, I've been going anytime there's a gathering or if I run into somebody at the store, whatever, and thank them. And I continue to do this mission for the benefit of all my coworkers, and I would appreciate it if anyone who worked in the space program would please stand so the people around you can recognize you for the work that you did. All right. Thank you very much, heroes.
Thank you, buddy. God bless you, buddy. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, as we're going to do the flowers here in just a second, we have with the cadet show, we have had 3 NASA astronauts who died in 2025 that we briefly want to remind you of. Mark Garneau, the first Canadian astronaut to go to space, tragically died of, I want to say, where's my notes there? He had a fatal illness that really shocked the community there. Where'd they go there? Got Jan? Yeah, okay, there we go. He had lymphoma, leukemia on there. But he, I think 3 times to space, was a leader in the Canadian government. And was he in your class? Okay, I didn't think so. Next to him is Rick Houck on the outside there. Rick was certainly a pioneering shuttle pilot and astronaut. He died in November in 2025 at his retirement home in Maine at age 85. He wrote a book of his memoirs, To Mach 25 and Home, and he was the pilot, the commander of the return to flight STS-25 after the Challenger accident. And then, of course, Jim Lovell, the oldest astronaut to live at 97 years old, born in Cleveland, Ohio, but he attended Wisconsin University and had his life more centered around Wisconsin than Ohio. You know him, of course, from Apollo 8 and Apollo 13. And also the fourth one I want to lift up there on the bottom there. Young man, there's one on the bottom there. Local legend, Al Cruz. I think Al made it to 97, 98 years old. And Al was a very fixture at Cape Canaveral Space Force Sands History Museum there. He was a manned orbiting laboratory astronaut, a mole astronaut on there, and an Air Force test pilot. So we remember Al Cruz as one of our local people that have gone. Okay, we go to, now my honor to bring up here Robert Granath. Robert Granath is going to do the Apollo astronauts as we mark them off here. And okay, I'm going to get my sheet here of the astronaut who's doing the flowers there. Robert, I give it to you, and at the appropriate time, we will have the astronaut. We will have Chuck Jeffrey, who I mentioned earlier, is going to be doing the honors for that. So, Robert, Robert's a public affairs officer for several companies, Boeing, Rockwell, and NASA, and he also is happily involved with our museum. He does. So, thank you. Gus Grissom. Roger Chaffee, Chuck Jeffrey.
Want to start with Chaffee?
Roger Chaffee. Who you do first?
Grissom.
Okay,
We'll do Chaffee.
We'll do Gus Grissom first then. Sorry there, Marty. Gus Grissom is Bob Seek, who worked since the Gemini program in NASA. So sorry the difference there.
Okay.
So who you got next, White?
Yeah. Then we have White.
Okay, Chris. Okay, wait, hold on. Yeah. Go ahead.
When Gus Grissom and John Young orbited the Earth on the first piloted Gemini mission, Gus looked out the window and said, "Take my word for it. The view from space is magnificent. All I can say is if someone did not find evidence of God while in space, he must have never looked out the window." A native of Mitchell, Indiana, Lieutenant Colonel Gus Grissom served in the Air Force during World War II and the Korean conflict, flying more than 100 combat sorties. After earning a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Purdue University, he was a test pilot at Edwards Air Force Base when NASA selected him as one of the original 7 astronauts in 1959. Aboard his spacecraft Liberty Bell 7 on July 21, 1961, Gus duplicated Al Shepard's Mercury flight, saying, "It's such a fascinating view out the window, you just can't help to look out that way." Serving as Capcom in Mercury Control and having been there himself, Shepard responded, "I understand." As Gus aboard Liberty Bell 7 splashed down in the Atlantic, the unexpected. I was just lying there minding my own business and pow! The hatch blew and I looked up and saw nothing but blue sky and water coming over the sill. His professionalism and training kicked in, narrowly averting disaster. Gus went on to Project Gemini, often referred to as NASA's bridge to the moon. Gemini was the program that perfected the crucial procedures necessary to meet President Kennedy's goal of landing on the lunar surface. On March 23, 1965, Gemini 3, a capsule that Gus dubbed Molly Brown, was the first spacecraft to change orbit. That was a revolutionary maneuver, proving that it was possible for a lunar module to lift off from the moon and rendezvous with the command module for the trip home. Naturally, Gus was selected to command the first Apollo mission. Less than a month before the Apollo 1 fire, Gus completed the first draft manuscript for his book Gemini, published a year after his burial at Arlington National Cemetery. In the last paragraph of the last page of the book, he had a message for those of us gathered here today. There will be risks, as there are with any experimental program, but I hope the American people won't feel it's too high a price to pay for our space program.
Presenting for Ed White is Charlie Mars.
As the second Gemini spacecraft orbited the Earth approaching the west coast of the United States, one of the two hatches opened. Ed White stepped out into open space. Closely monitoring his crewmate, Jim McDivitt, watched Ed tumbling around while backdropped by the blue Earth. "You look beautiful, Ed." "I feel like $1 million," the spacewalker responded. Lieutenant Colonel Ed White was born in San Antonio, Texas, and he graduated from the United States Military Academy with a bachelor's degree in 1952. Afterwards, Ed was assigned to Bitburg Air Base in West Germany, where he flew the F-86 Sabre, F-100 Super Sabre jets. After Ed earned a master's in aeronautical engineering from the University of Michigan, he became a test pilot at Edwards and later Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. In September 1962, Ed was selected as part of the second group of astronauts in order to take part in the Gemini and Apollo missions. Building on the success of Gus Grissom and John Young's Gemini flight, NASA launched the most ambitious mission to date, Gemini 4. During June 1965, Ed and Jim McDivitt not only stayed in orbit for 4 days, a record at the time, Ed performed America's first extravehicular activity, or EVA. Of course, the world came to know it as a spacewalk, a crucial skill allowing Apollo explorers to walk on the moon and American astronauts and their partners from around the world to build the International Space Station. On June 3, 1965, during the third revolution, Ed floated around for 23 minutes, becoming the first man to control himself in space using a handheld maneuvering unit. While enjoying the spacewalk, Ed exclaimed, "This is the greatest experience, it's just tremendous." While Ed and Jim were sightseeing, Gus Grissom, the Capcom in Mission Control, had a message for the weightless acrobat who was having way too much fun. "The flight director says get back in." So, following the exploits of this Gemini flight, Ed was the right choice for that first flight in Project Apollo. As was his desire, Ed was interned at his alma mater, West Point.
Next, we honor Roger Chaffee with Chuck Jeffrey of the U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation. Make sure you get close to the mic.
During NASA's Day of Remembrance in January 2017, Roger Chaffee's daughter Cheryl spoke softly. From the ashes of the Apollo 1 fire came the hard lessons NASA had to learn in order to have successful flights to the moon and further exploration of space. Lieutenant Commander Roger Chaffee was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where he became an Eagle Scout. After graduating from high school in 1953, he received a Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps scholarship to the Illinois Institute of Technology. Roger transferred to Purdue in 1954, and while attending classes there, he received his private pilot's license. He was awarded a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering in 1957. After graduation, he completed training at Naval Air Station Pensacola, flying aircraft such as the T-34, T-28, and A-3D. He then became a Quality and Safety Control Officer for Heavy Photographic Squadron. In this role, during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, he took crucial photographs that aided President Kennedy's response during some of the hottest days of the Cold War. A year later, Roger was selected with the third group of NASA astronauts. During Gus Grissom and John Young's Gemini 3 mission, Roger served as a Capcom in the new Mission Control Center in Houston. He also helped design Apollo flight control, instrumentation, and communication system, so it was no surprise that in March 1966, he was selected with Gus and Ed White for that first Apollo flight. Roger was laid to death beside his Apollo 1 commander at Arlington. Roger Chaffee is now retired following 33 years working for NASA at the Kennedy Space Center. During her remarks in 2017, she could have been speaking to those of us gathered here now. I am so proud to be here today with all of you to pay tribute to my father, his crewmates, and other fallen astronauts.
Thank you, Bob Granath. Would the presenters for Challenger go over here? We got Don, Pam, Jane, Marty, Candy, Carrie, and the students of Astronaut High School. You can assemble over there, and I make a couple comments that where were you 40 years ago, Wednesday, January 28th? And not too many people under 50 years old looking around here. You've been 10 years old, and I certainly remember where I was paying my Warner cable bill in the office and going to work and saw the TV screen, and that don't look right. I've heard the stories many times as 8 years at this museum. It's so many people saw it in their backyards. But the people that it touched, you space workers and other people, it's a scar that will probably never heal. And I bring up here to do their bios for us today, Steve Agid. Steve, come on up here. He was in the space program for over 50 years. A shuttle payload engineer. He supported nearly 60 shuttle missions and a Silver Snoopy recipient, and he's currently a communicator at Kennedy Space Center, and a real good one out there. And if you recognize his voice, did you do ULA launches? All right, so on there. So, Steve, you have the honors of our fallen Challenger heroes. The first presenter is Don Sheehan. He was a quality assurance at NASA. Don, nice to meet you, in honor of Dick Scobie.
Dick Scobie was the commander of the mission, having learned the ropes as a pilot on STS-41C in April 1984 and Challenger. He was born Cle Elum, Washington, an outdoor haven. A decorated combat pilot on the Vietnam War, Dick became a test pilot and eventually an astronaut, one of the 35 new guys, as the class of 1978 were called. In 1984, Scobie piloted Challenger aboard mission STS-41C, which successfully deployed one satellite and repaired another. A lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, when he died at age 43, Dick Scobie is buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
Next, we honor Mike Smith with Pam Rock from the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Mike Smith was a Navy captain and rookie pilot on Challenger. He was born in Beaufort, North Carolina, and got a pilot's license before he got his driver's license. A Vietnam veteran, flying various fighter jets, he was an avid pilot who flew 28 different kinds of civilian and military aircraft. Smith was selected as an astronaut in the 1980 Group 9 selection and chosen to pilot Space Shuttle Mission 51L. He was also assigned to pilot a future mission that would have taken place in the fall of 1986 aboard Space Shuttle Columbia, but Michael unfortunately never completed either mission. He's buried at Arlington National Cemetery.
Next, we honor Ellison Onizuka with Jane Hodges, a NASA educator for many, many years and another good friend of our museum.
Ellison Onizuka was born in Kealakekula, Hawaii, and became the first Asian American in space when he served as a mission specialist aboard Space Shuttle Discovery, Space Shuttle Mission 51C, in January 1985, the first Defense Department mission. He earned a degree in aerospace engineering from the University of Colorado at Boulder, and then served as an Air Force test pilot before being tagged by NASA in 1978. Onizuka's role in that Challenger mission was to deploy a tracking and data relay satellite for spacecraft and satellites. He would troubleshoot any problems from the orbiter. An asteroid and moon crater are now named for him. Lieutenant Colonel Onizuka was a Buddhist when he died at age 39. He's buried at the National Memorial Cemetery in the Pacific in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Okay, next we honor Ron McNair, with Marty Winkle doing the honors. Marty was a lead electrical engineer on Grumman's lunar module, and then he spent a couple decades on the launch process services on the shuttle engines.
Ron was an accomplished saxophone player who had planned to record a saxophone solo during the Challenger mission. It would have been the first original piece of music ever recorded in space. When he was 9, Ron refused to leave a segregated library in his hometown of Lake City, South Carolina, until they allowed him to check out a book. Today, that same library bears his name. After graduation from MIT, receiving 4 honorary degrees, a score of fellowships and commendations while achieving the 6th degree black belt in Taekwondo. He became a staff physicist at the Hughes Research Lab in Malibu, California. In 1978, McNair was selected as one of the 35 applicants from a pool of over 10,000 for the NASA astronaut program. He flew on Space Shuttle Mission 41B aboard Challenger from February 3rd to February 11th of 1984. As a mission specialist, becoming the second African American and the first of the Baha'i faith to fly in space. He's buried at the Rust Lawn Memorial Park in Lake City, South Carolina, at the age of 35. There are more than 30 buildings, parks, and schools named after him.
And our bilingual STEAM educator, Natalia Sepulveda, is a Ron McNair Scholarship Award winner, how she got her master's degree. And there's an elementary school about 20 miles from here. To honor Judy Resnick, a very special person, Candy Cyberling. She was a childhood friend with Judy in Akron, Ohio, and she always makes this pilgrimage here to honor her friend. They were so connected through her school. So thank you for being here, Candy Cyberling.
Born in Akron, Ohio, Judy was the first Jewish American in space and the first Jewish woman of any nationality to travel into space. That was on the maiden voyage of Discovery in 1984, making her the 4th woman in space. She took a photo of actor Tom Selleck with her. A child prodigy, she planned on being a concert pianist. Resnick in 1966 was the only woman to attain a perfect score on the SAT exam, and only the 16th in history to do it. She turned down the Juilliard School of Music, choosing instead to study at Carnegie Mellon University, earning a degree in electrical engineering. In 1977, she earned a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Maryland. Resnick went on to work for RCA as an engineer on the NASA missiles and radar projects. She was recruited by NASA to the astronaut program as a mission specialist at the age of 28, in the first group of 6 women chosen out of 8,000 female applicants. Losing her life at age 36, Judy Resnick is interred at Arlington National Cemetery.
Next we honor Gregory Jarvis with Carrie Fuller of the American Legion. Carrie lost her husband, was one of 3 men killed in the aft section of the shuttle when it was nitrogen purged. And Carrie's husband is honored over there at Spaceview Park with others that have lost their life out there. Thank you for being here, Carrie.
Gregory Jarvis was born in Detroit, Michigan. He earned a bachelor's and master's degree at the State University of New York and a master's degree at Northeastern University in electrical engineering before joining the Air Force and eventually going to work at Hughes Aircraft. He worked on a number of satellite design projects and was selected in 1984 to be an astronaut for Hughes satellites in agreement with NASA. He was bubbed from 2 previous space flights by 2 politicians, Utah Senator Jake Garn and Florida Representative Bill Nelson. Jarvis died at the age of 41, was cremated, and his ashes scattered over the Pacific Ocean.
The final member of the Challenger crew, that was going to be the first teacher in space, Krista McAuliffe, doing the honors for us, is students from Astronaut High, Riley Baskett and Carly Burnetto.
Sharon Krista McAuliffe was born in Boston, Massachusetts. As a social studies teacher at Concord High School in New Hampshire in 1983, Krista became a hero to the school children everywhere in America. She was going to be NASA's first teacher in space, and it was a role she felt she'd been born to play. Krista was fascinated by space travel and once told a high school friend, "Do you realize that people will be going to the moon? Maybe even taking a bus there? I want to do that." In 1984, President Ronald Reagan announced the Teacher in Space project. She beat out 11,000 applicants for NASA's Teacher in Space program and was celebrated for her enthusiasm. NASA hoped that sending a teacher into space would increase public interest in the Space Shuttle program. The event would showcase the important role of teachers in America. She was also planning to conduct 2 15-minute classes from space. The lessons were to be broadcast to millions of school children via closed-circuit TV. For the 35th anniversary of the Challenger tragedy, on January 28, 2021, the United States Department of the Treasury issued 350,000 $1 silver coins in commemoration of Krista McAuliffe. She's buried at Blossom Hill Cemetery in her hometown of Concord, New Hampshire. As we remember this crew today, we must also reflect upon this unique anniversary. Today, just 11 miles from where we are, from the same launch pad where Challenger began its journey, there stands another mighty rocket. Just days from now, it will begin a journey to the moon with a crew of 4, our first trip in over 50 years. There is no better tribute to the Challenger crew than for us to remember that while the Challenger and her crew are gone, their challenges remain.
Thank you very much. Steve Agid. Thank you so much, Steve. With the Columbia presenters, Mike, Bill, Norm, Barbara, Bob, Gene, and Matt, assemble over here to the left there, and I'll slide over here to the right. We honor the Columbia astronauts. Let's see, Bert Dick will be up here in just a second. While we assemble over there, the 113th launch of a shuttle was out of the numbered sequence, as this was mission 107. And it had a beginning that led to its end, as we all know. 7 astronauts were collectively named from the astronaut group that was called the Flying Escargot, or Sardines were the 2 groups. They were either the Flying Escargots or the Sardines in this group. And you were one of those, right? Oh, you weren't? Which one were you? Gaffers. George Abbey's final 15. Yeah, 15 in there, yeah. As matriarch of the fleet, Columbia blasted off just 13 miles from here, and we all know that though a fabulous 16-day mission, most of the data sent down to Earth through TDRS satellites had been deployed by previous shuttle flights. Just a few minutes from landing, the tragedy happened. So, ironically, their patch is the only one shaped like a space shuttle. And to honor them, coming up here is Bert Dick, is the membership director and very involved with the National Space Society and Ad Astra magazine. Come on up here, Bert. Presenting for Rick Husband is his launch director, Mr. Mike Leinbach.
Rick Husband served as the commander of STS-107 following his earlier role as a pilot of STS-96, which delivered supplies and personnel to the International Space Station during a 10-day mission in June 1999. Born in Amarillo, Texas, Rick earned a degree in mechanical engineering from Texas Tech University before embarking on a distinguished career in the United States Air Force. As a test pilot, he played a key role in the evaluation of aircraft such as the F-4 Phantom and the F-15 Eagle. In 1994, he was selected as part of NASA's 15th astronaut group. Rick was a man of deep faith, which shaped both his personal and professional life. As part of a standard pre-mission last request form, he left a message for his pastor. "Tell them about Jesus. He's real to me." His wife, Evelyn Husband, later reflected on Rick's faith and character in her book called Higher Calling, writing that his life was guided by purpose and conviction. Rick Husband was 45 years old when he was lost in the Columbia disaster. He is buried in his hometown of Amarillo, Texas. His leadership, integrity, and faith remain central to his enduring legacy.
Next, we honor Willie McCool, the pilot, with Bill Airy doing the honors. Bill is a spacesuit expert with International Latex Corporation and wrote a wonderful book about the Apollo and other spacesuits. Thank you, Bill.
Willie McCool served as the pilot of STS-107, a gifted naval aviator and test pilot at the Naval Air Station Patuxent River. He flew more than 24 different types of aircraft and completed over more than 400 carrier landings, an extraordinary demonstration of precision and skill. Selected as a NASA astronaut in 1996, McCool was part of a new generation of astronauts deeply involved in shuttle cockpit upgrades and flight systems. He was widely admired for his intellect, enthusiasm, and love of music. A devoted Radiohead fan, he was delighted when Mission Control played Fake Plastic Trees as his wake-up song during the mission. At just 42 years old, Willie McCool was the youngest member of the Columbia crew. He is buried in Anacortes, Washington. His legacy reflects curiosity, discipline, and a joyful embrace of exploration.
Next, we honor Michael Anderson with Norman Rathborn of the Warbirds Air Museum near us here. Thank you, Norman.
Michael Anderson served as a mission specialist on STS-107 and as the payload commander, overseeing more than 80 experiments conducted inside Columbia's Space Lab module. He had previously flown aboard STS-89 in 1998, a mission that supported the final astronaut exchange with the Russian space station Mir. Born in Plattsburgh, New York, and raised in Cheney, Washington, Anderson earned degrees in physics and astronomy from the University of Washington and later completed a master's degree while serving in the United States Air Force. Rising to the rank of lieutenant colonel, he distinguished himself as an instructor pilot and tactical officer. Known for his strong faith and musical talent, Anderson sang tenor in his church choir. Before the mission, he shared with his pastor, "If this thing doesn't come out right, don't worry about me. I'm just going on higher." Michael Anderson was 43 years old when he was lost. He is buried at the Arlington National Cemetery, remembered as a leader, scientist, and a quiet source of inspiration.
Next, we honor Kapalna Chawla, known as KC, Barbara Rathborn of the Valiant Air Command. Thank you, Barbara.
A rookie astronaut, David Brown brought an extraordinary blend of medicine and aviation to the STS-107 crew. He earned his undergraduate degree from William and Mary and his medical degree from Eastern Virginia Medical School before joining the U.S. Navy as a flight surgeon. An accomplished gymnast and performer, Brown once worked as an acrobat and unicyclist, evidence of an adventurous spirit that never left him. In the Navy, he flew aircraft including the FA-18 Hornet and the A-6 Intruder, and he was named Navy Operational Flight Surgeon of the Year. Selected as an astronaut in 1996, David Brown was 46 years old when he perished aboard Columbia. He is buried at the Arlington National Cemetery, remembered for his versatility, courage, and boundless curiosity.
Okay. We got a little sequence
Oh,
there,
we were out of sequence?
Well, I'll say I was out of sequence.
You were out of sequence, okay. Sorry about that.
That was David Brown, of course, that you did there, and Bob Swink is going to do, and I remember asking Bob Cabana how to say her name, and he said, just say KC, okay? But we're doing Kalpana Chawla, quite an amazing lady. Go ahead. And we've got from the Elks Lodge, Bob Swink here of our Flag and Memorial Committee.
Sorry about that, Miss Folks. Kalpana Chawla, whose name means imagination, was a mission specialist on STS-107 and the first Indian-born woman to fly in space. Born in Karnal, India, she pursued a passion for flight through education, earning degrees in aeronautical and aerospace engineering in India and the United States, including a doctorate from the University of Colorado. A licensed commercial pilot and flight instructor, Chawla loved aerobatics and tail dragger aircraft. She first flew into space aboard STS-87 in 1997 and quickly became a global symbol of perseverance and possibility. Kalpana Chawla was 40 years old at the time of her death. In accordance with her wishes, her remains were cremated and scattered at Zion National Park. Her story continues to inspire students around the world to imagine bold futures.
And we now honor Laurel Salton Clark with Jean Wright, one of the Sow sisters that worked on the shuttle thermal protection system, doing the honors. Thank you, Jean.
Laurel Clark considered Racine, Washington, her hometown. She earned degrees in zoology and medicine from the University of Wisconsin and went on to serve as a Navy physician in some of the most extreme environments on Earth, including undersea missions and submarine medical evacuations. Selected as a NASA astronaut in 1996, Clark brought medical expertise and adaptability to STS-107. During the mission, she wrote to family and friends, "I am busy in the lab, but whenever I do get to look out, it is glorious." One of her most poignant moments came while observing a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, prompting her to write, "Life continues in a lot of places, and life is a magical thing." Laurel Clark was 41 years old when she was lost. She is buried at Arlington National Cemetery, remembered for her compassion, curiosity, and service.
And finally, we honor Israeli astronaut Ilan Ramon. And when about 3 years ago, we had 40 members of the Israeli delegation from Miami came up here to take part in our ceremony, and that was quite an emotional time back there. And then within 6 months happened a tragedy that triggered their next war, and that's what their leaders talked about. So, Ilan Ramon, we have Titusville Police Department Commander Matt Damon doing the honors, not to be confused with Matt Damon. Commander.
Born in Beersheba, Israel, Ilan Ramon was a colonel in the Israeli Air Force and the oldest member of the Columbia crew at age 48. A highly experienced fighter pilot, he became a national symbol of pride when selected to fly aboard STS-107. Ramon carried personal and cultural artifacts into space, including a miniature Torah honoring his family's Holocaust history. Faced with the challenge of observing a Shabbat in orbit, he consulted religious authorities and ultimately followed the Sabbath schedule at Cape Canaveral. Remarkably, pages from Ramon's space journal survived the breakup of Columbia and were later restored. One entry reads, "Today was the first day that I felt I am truly living in space." Ilan Ramon is buried in Nahalal, Israel. His legacy endures as one of courage, faith, and historic firsts. The 7 astronauts of STS-107, Rick Husband, Willie McCool, Michael Anderson, David Brown, Kapana Chawa, Laura Clark, and Alon Rahman, came from different nations, professions, and backgrounds. They spoke different first languages, followed different paths, and carried different stories with them into space. Yet they were all united by a shared commitment to exploration, to service, and the pursuit of knowledge beyond our world. Their mission reminds us that spaceflight is never just about machines or milestones. It is by core, it's a human endeavor, driven by curiosity, sustained by teamwork, and grounded in trust. The loss of Columbia reshaped how we fly, how we listen, and how we weigh risk against responsibility. Those lessons endure today in every spacecraft we launch and every crew we send beyond Earth. As we remember them, we are reminded that progress is not measured only in destinations reached, but in the care we take along the way. The legacy of Columbia is not defined solely by tragedy, but by the resolve to do better, to honor those who came before by protecting those who follow. May we never forget the Columbia crew. May we carry their spirit forward with humility and purpose, and may their journey continue to inspire future generations to dream boldly, explore responsibly, and persevere in the enduring human quest to reach beyond the horizon.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Good job, buddy. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, sir. As we're concluding here, I'd like to, Tom Patton, raise your hand here. Tom, I didn't see him here. He was going to do one of the flowers. Tom is an important member of our Flag and Memorial Committee, is representing the disabled American veterans. So thank you for being here, Tom. All right, Al, let's see where our outros are here.
You want me to talk? I know what's next.
All right. Of course you
That's
do.
why you always have a sidekick, one who knows what's next, right?
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would and if you are able, please stand as we do military honors to remember our fallen. The North Brevard Honor Guard will do a rifle salute followed by taps. If you are a veteran or in uniform, please salute. Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you all for attending this memorial today. Take home with you a memory of each of these space explorers, and know that we do this for their families that live on with the heartbreak, and to let them know that the sacrifice has changed our America and changed our world. As a new renaissance of space exploration is upon us in the 21st century, let us not forget today's incredible successes are made possible only because of the sacrifices made by a small few. We would like the flowered presenters and dignitaries to wait around for a minute for photography with the press here. Please come to our reception at the American Space Museum and enjoy some fruit, vegetables, and cheese over there and some drink. Quench the seminal thirst that's in our seminal wind thirst here that's in our among us today. Al?
To send us off in prayer, our benediction is by Bob Swink, former exalted ruler, Titusville Elks Lodge 2113.
Thank you, Al. May we pray. We give thanks for each of our loved ones whom we have remembered here today, for all the ways in which their lives touched ours, for the difficult as well as the good times, for the ways in which their lives and their love continue to be with us. To our sadness, in our sadness, and with great thanksgiving, we will remember them. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bob. Al, you got anything?
Nope.
All right. May we end with this final thought and thank Astronaut Jan Davis for being here. She shared some of this thought, and I know it's never easy for an astronaut to do this event, and we thank you very much for your heartfelt message. It was a really powerful one. Tuesday, I'll be over at Launch Pad 34, one of the greatest honors of my life, to be part of the Apollo 1 ceremony. Maybe some of you will be there. But I have a plaque there that's been there for a long time, and it says this, a fitting final thought. Quote, "They gave their lives in service to their country in the ongoing exploration of humankind's final frontier. Remember them not for how they died, but for those ideals for which they lived," unquote. From the U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation, doing business as the American Space Museum, I thank you very much. And please remember that together we all bridge the space between us. Thank you. See you at the museum.